welcome back everybody. It's Billy here with another episode of my Minecraft Bed and Adventure playthrough. Today we're gonna try to finish up the house right now. I'm gonna make a nice glass roof, get some maybe greenwood planks on the sides, then move all my chests to my bed down there, and maybe start a mine. Now, if you see the title of this video, you know what this is about. I'm gonna be giving some predictions, some hot takes on this upcoming NFL season. Because, as I'm sure you guys probably know by now, I like watching football. I'm interested in it, I like following it. I used Snappy for years and years, but recently I really have been. I enjoyed watching last season, and I was kind of like an outsider to the sport up until last year. I figured I might have some interesting opinions on what's going to happen this season. I have like a list of 10 kind of things to talk about, so I'm just going to go down the line and start off with probably what might be my hottest take is that I think there are two teams in the NFC South that will both make the playoffs. At the end of last season, everybody was saying how the NFC South was set up to be like the worst division this year, where they have the Buccaneers, who are probably going to be tanking this season. They have the Panthers, who are a question mark with Bryce Young. They have the Falcons, who do not have a very promising QB this season in Desmond Ridder. And then they have the Saints, who, compared to like the other three teams, are not that bad. They're probably going to win the division with Derek Carr as their QB, Chris Olave breaking out. They have a good defense. But they probably won't win that many games. Like 10-7 would be their best record. Best case scenario, maybe 11-6, and then probably lose the first round in the playoffs to a better team. A team like the Cowboys, maybe, that might not win the division, but will still get like 12-13 wins. Now, I do think the Saints will make the playoffs. I think they'll win their division. But I actually think that the Falcons are kind of like a sleeper pick to do very well this year. Obviously, their QB is a question mark. Desmond Ridder, from what we saw, was not very promising last season. But at the same time, the Panthers also have a rookie QB, Bryce Young. He could end up second and being a bust. And the Buccaneers will probably move on from Baker Mayfield, like like what the Steelers did with Mitch Trubisky last season pretty quickly, to see if they have something with Kyle Trask. And also, the rest of the Falcons' offense is actually, like, kind of very good. Like, they probably have the best running backs in general across the entire NFL, assuming Bijan Robinson is not a bust. Bijan Robinson was, like, this hyped up to be generational running back talent. They have Tyler Algier, who will be on his second year this season. And he also ran for 1,000 yards last season. He's also very good. They have Drake London, who was a pretty good rookie wide receiver last year. Maybe not as good as Garrett Wilson, obviously. But especially since he had Marcus Mariota and Desmond Ridder at the end of the year throwing to him, he did pretty well. And then they still have Kyle Pitts, who was like the tight end they drafted 4th overall. And he was injured last season, but he's coming back now. Maybe he'll be good this season, who knows? And also, just from what I remember last season, their defense was also not half bad. I think when you start to think about it, like, the Falcons could, now that they have, like, a more defined, like, plan for this season, it was like a layover season with Marcus Mariota. They have Desmond Ridder. They're going to just push him out the entire year, see if he has what it takes to be a good quarterback. And they have a strong running attack. They have good offensive skill positions, and they have a decent defense. I could see them going, 9-8, maybe 10-7, and I think they could make the playoffs as like the 7 seed or the 6 seed. I don't think they'll do well in the playoffs because I think they're too inexperienced, but they could still make playoffs. Next up is my thoughts on the Lions this year. The Lions are probably my favorite team. I grew up in Chicago, but I was never really a fan of the Bears. And then just one year I decided to look up who had like the worst historical record in the NFL, and it was the Detroit Lions. But this year, people are really liking the Lions. They think they have a good team. Their offense looks great. Their offense was good last year. It was one of the best in the league. But it was just their defense that was really not good. Is there no corner stairs? That's pretty funny. Okay, whatever. And I do think they'll do well this year. I think they'll make the playoffs. However, I do not believe that they have what it takes to win a playoff game this year. I think they'll kind of choke in the playoffs or just get swept, or maybe they'll have to face a team that was really good. Like, they'll be the 4 seed and have to face a 5 seed, and the 5 seed had an even better record than them. I could see if they have to play the Seahawks, that could become an issue. The Vikings might end up being really good this year. I really don't know what to think of them. I had exactly enough. That's crazy. But yeah, despite how much they've improved this past year, I still don't think they'll be able to compete with teams like the Eagles, the 49ers, especially like the Bengals, Jets, and Chiefs in the other division, in the AFC. Speaking of that, I have some predictions for the AFC. I think first off, the Jets make the AFC Championship game but lose. I think this is just too perfect of like a storyline for this not to happen in reality. Aaron Rodgers is obviously their new quarterback, and he is really good, right? Historically, he's one of the best quarterbacks of all time, but he always manages to choke somehow in the playoffs. I'll talk about the Bills in a second, but I think the Jets will win their division. I think they could even be the 1 seed in overall, but I don't think they'll be able to make it to the Super Bowl. I think they'll be forced to, at the end of the season, try to recoup their losses, make a few adjustments, and then next season will be their push to finally win the Super Bowl. I do think they'll still be good, though. I think they'll have a great season altogether. They have good running backs with Breece Hall and now Dalvin Cook. Garrett Wilson has been really good recently. Their defense was amazing last year, from what I remember, with Sauce Gardner. And as long as Aaron Rodgers does not pull Russell Wilson, they should be good. Now, the Bills, on the other hand, I think they're in a bit of a tricky situation. Because for the past few years, they've been kind of Super Bowl contenders with Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, a good defense. But each year, they do worse and worse. They made it to the AFC Championship game, and they just made it to the divisional round, where they lost a very close game against the Chiefs. And then last year, they were kind of blown out by the Bengals. Okay, my house is done. I can move stuff down there now. Yeah, I'm not the best builder. So my house looks a little funky, but I'm sure you guys will just have to make do. I was never really too into building anyway. But I think the Bills will still make the playoffs. They could even have a record of like 12-5 or like 13-4 maybe. But I'm not sure if they'll be able to win the division. With the Jets being there, and honestly, the Dolphins are pretty good too. I don't really mind any predictions just because of how loaded the AFC is this year. I'm not sure if the Dolphins will be able to make it in. They could, but I don't think this is their year. I think in a few years, when Tua has grown more as a player, and they've built up their defense more, and also Aaron Rodgers retires, I think they'll be more of a contender. But I do not think, no matter where the Bills end up in, that they'll be able to make it out of the wild card round. I believe they're going to regress again this year in the playoffs. And that it just isn't their time yet. Now, as for the Chiefs, who they won the Super Bowl last year, I still think they'll be really good this year. But, again, with how loaded the AFC is this year, I don't actually think they'll be able to make it to the Super Bowl, or even the AFC Championship game. I kind of think that this will be the first full season of Patrick Mahomes' career that he falls short of the AFC Championship game. Which sounds crazy for 2 reasons. One, he's made the AFC Championship game 5 seasons in a row. And also, second, their team is still really good. But I think the Jets will make it and then lose. And I think the Bengals will actually make it to the Super Bowl again. I think they have a great team this year. If Ja'Marr Chase, I'm pretty sure they signed that really good offensive lineman. I think they have that tight end too. I could be wrong about it. No, they got some defensive player. They don't have a new tight end. Everybody was saying they're going to draft Michael Mayer, and it didn't end up happening, but you win some, you lose some, I guess. But I'll talk more about the Bengals at the end of this video when I give my Super Bowl predictions. Now, as for individual performances, I think that so there's 3 big rookie QBs this year that are going to start week 1. Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson, and CJ Stroud. I don't really think any of these 3 will have great seasons. I don't think any of them will be terrible and be like a 1 and done or a 2 season and done even. I just think they'll all be kind of mid. If I had to guess, CJ Stroud will probably be the most successful out of all of them. I think he's the most NFL ready. As I really unpopular opinion, that's what I think too. I think NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year will be given to like Bijan Robinson, as long as he doesn't suck, or maybe like I'm gonna make my mind right along here. Maybe if he does like get injured or something, it'll be given to like Jahmyr Gibbs, who's kind of set up to be really good this season. Maybe even some wide receiver again, like Jackson Smith-Njigba, Jordan Anderson. I just don't think a quarterback will be offensive rookie of the year, and I think they'll all be kind of mid. I think that Austin Eckler, the LA Chargers running back, will have yet another great season. He's been really good in fantasy football, but for some reason he was never been able to make a Pro Bowl. I think that's going to change this season. He'll do very well. I don't want to make a prediction for NFL Offensive Player of the Year, as I honestly don't even really get that award. Like, why did Patrick Mahomes win MVP but didn't win Offensive Player of the Year last year? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But whatever, that's a story for another day. But I think he'll be one of the best running backs. I kind of hope that him doing very well will kind of encourage Chargers to keep him around and pay him. Although at this point, next year, we'll probably have we'll see where people like Josh Jacobs and Tony Pollard are. That will probably have a bigger effect. As for other individual players, I think will have breakout seasons. I mentioned Kyle Pitts on the Falcons earlier, but I think he'll finally live up to his 4th overall or 5th overall draft slot. Have a great season. Even if Desmond Ridder is not the best, I still think he has potential. I think Calvin Ridley on the Jacksonville Jaguars will have a bounce back year after he was suspended for a long time for gambling. I'm not sure if someone like him would be qualified to win Comeback Player of the Year, considering why he was not playing NFL games for a bit. And also, it seems almost impossible that anybody other than Damar Hamlin wins Comeback Player of the Year. But I think Calvin Ridley will be very well. I think he'll be a welcome addition on the Jaguars. And then I also think Amon-Ra St. Brown will just get even better this year. Now, I am a little biased as a Lions fan, but I think Amon-Ra St. Brown has potential to be one of the best wide receivers in the next few years. He already made a Pro Bowl last year. I think he can make another one. I think he could even wind up being similar to Justin Jefferson, where, Justin Jefferson won Offensive Player of the Year, has had 3 great seasons back-to-back, all with Kirk Cousins as his quarterback, who isn't bad, but it's not like he has Patrick Mahomes thrown to him. If the Lions succeed well offensively this year, I don't really think it will be Jared Goff who gets the most credit. I think it will be their O-line and then Amon-Ra St. Brown. As for a few teams I think will also do poorly, besides I mentioned the Bills earlier will not meet expectations, but that's mostly because I don't think they'll have a deep playoff run. After looking at all the teams who made the playoffs last year, I think the teams who made playoffs last year have the biggest chance to not make them this year are the Chargers and the Cowboys. Both of them, I believe, were the 5 seed, and both kind of had their seasons end embarrassingly, with the Chargers blowing a huge 28-0 lead against the Jaguars. And then the Cowboys just kind of being owned by the 49ers again, having that Ezekiel Elliott as their center play. Oh yes, Ritson, I can finally make a compass. I talked about this in a previous video, but now I can see my coordinates. I can see my Y value. Yeah, this mod, you need to have a compass in your inventory in order to see that stuff. But I'm not sure. Oh, diamonds! You can get diamonds in the Y26? I'm not sure how much use there is for redstone in this, actually, besides for making that one compass. As I was saying, I don't really have any specific reasoning for why the Chargers and Cowboys won't make the playoffs this year. I just think something wrong will go down. People have been talking about how the Chargers head coach is on thin ice this season. I mean, I don't really know enough about NFL coaches to make any specific... What is this? Assault. To say anything for certain, but I also kind of get the impression that he isn't that good of a coach. That he's been kind of holding Justin Herbert back, obviously not intentionally, but just with the plays he calls. I could see the Broncos doing better than them this year now that they have a good head coach in Sean Payton. And with how loaded the AFC is, with, Bills, Bengals, Ravens, Jets, Dolphins, Steelers and Browns even, Chiefs obviously, Jaguars, the Chargers could just fall short this year. I'm gonna head back up, put some stuff away, grab a water bucket. And then similar thing to the Cowboys, where I don't really have a lot of faith in Dak Prescott to begin with. I know some people love him. I don't. I think if they can't get their running back situation sorted out, they'll go from having some of the best running backs, well, not the best running backs, but the best running back attack last year to having some of the worst. They already let go of Ezekiel Elliott. They might have to let go of Tony Pollard. Their wide receivers, they added Brandon Cooks, which is good. But, like, I think, again, something wrong will happen. Something will go bad for them, and they'll have to make some adjustments this season to stay competitive. I think, people are saying the Giants will be the ones to not make the playoffs over the Cowboys, but I think the Giants are actually going to do about the same this year. They're still, just getting better as a team. Their coach, who I believe, might have won Coach of the Year last season, is still around, so he'll probably still be helping them out. Daniel Jones got pretty better last year. Hopefully he'll still continue in that direction. Just overall, I think the Chargers and the Cowboys have the short end of the stick this year. Although, if I'm being honest, probably a lot more teams who made the playoffs last year will fail and make them this year. I see you, Creeper. Like, I think 7 teams made the playoffs in 2021, but didn't end up making them this year. That's, like, insane. There would probably be, like, 5 or something this season. Like, the Jaguars will choke, maybe. Vikings might not make it. Ravens might not make it. Bills, maybe. Dolphins. I think Seahawks will do pretty well. I think they'll definitely still make it. Now, for my last prediction, Super Bowl, I think we will see the return of 2 teams who made the Super Bowl in the last few years, but haven't won it recently, in the Eagles and the Bengals. From here, it's kind of a toss-up. I like both of their teams. I believe Bengals are better offensively and Eagles are better defensively. But based on how last year turned out, I think the Bengals would probably beat them in the Super Bowl. Joe Burrow will probably win Super Bowl MVP, although who knows who will win overall MVP. I don't really think it will be Joe Burrow. It could be Mahomes again. It could be Jalen Hurts. It could even be Trevor Lawrence. Like, who knows? But yeah, those are my thoughts on the upcoming NFL season. Let me know some of your predictions for what's going to happen this season. Thank you guys for watching if you made it this far, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.